First of all, don't skip my video in which I'm telling you that you will not get it for the price of gold. Have you ever had a goal that felt so important, so life-changing, yet you just couldn't get yourself to start? Maybe it's preparing for an exam, learning a new skill, or working on a project. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into weeks, and before you know it, guilt starts creeping in. This feeling isn't just yours, it's universal. But let me tell you a story that might sound familiar. There was a student named Arjun. Arjun was brilliant, full of dreams, and wanted to top his class. He made detailed timetables, bought new stationery, and told himself, "This time, I'll be different." But when it came time to actually sit and study, something strange would happen. His mind would come up with excuses. "Let me check my phone first," he'd think. "Just 5 minutes and then I'll start." 5 minutes turned into an hour of scrolling through memes, and by the end of the day, Arjun was too exhausted to study. He'd tell himself, "Tomorrow I'll do better." Days turned into weeks, and the weight of his unfinished work became heavier. One night, as he stared at his untouched books, he asked himself, why can't I just do it? This story might remind you of yourself. And here's the truth. Arjun wasn't lazy. He wasn't incapable. He was simply caught in a trap that most of us fall into, the trap of procrastination. To understand why this happens, let's look at how our brain works. Our brain is designed to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Thousands of years ago, this helped our ancestors survive. If something felt hard or dangerous, avoiding it could mean staying alive. Today, we don't face life-threatening dangers, but our brain still avoids discomfort. Studying, exercising, or working on a goal feels hard, so your brain tricks you into choosing easier, more pleasurable things like scrolling through Instagram, watching Netflix, or sleeping. There's also another reason: overwhelm. Imagine standing at the base of a massive mountain. You look up and think, how will I ever climb this? That's how we feel when our goals seem too big. Instead of taking the first step, we freeze. But here's the good news: you can break free. Let me tell you about 2 more people who did just that. The first is Mira, a woman who dreamed of becoming a writer. She had vivid ideas, but every time she sat down to write, her mind would go blank. The thought of writing an entire book felt impossible. So she never started. One day, a friend gave her advice: forget about writing a book. Write just 1 sentence a day. At first, Mira laughed. What could 1 sentence do? But she tried it. On the first day, she wrote a single line. The next day, another. Some days, she ended up writing paragraphs. Slowly, the words added up, and within a year, she had written her first book. Mira's story teaches us the power of starting small. When a task feels overwhelming, break it down into the smallest possible step. If you want to study, start by reviewing just 1 page. If you want to work out, do 1 push-up. Once you start, momentum builds, and what felt impossible becomes manageable. Now let's talk about Ravi, a college student who struggled with distractions. His phone was his biggest weakness. Every time he tried to study, a notification would pop up, pulling him into an endless loop of scrolling. He felt frustrated but didn't know how to stop. One day, Ravi decided to make a small change. He set a timer for 20 minutes, put his phone in another room, and told himself, "I'll study for just these 20 minutes." At first, it was hard. He kept thinking about his phone. But as the timer ticked down, he noticed something surprising. He was actually focused. Those 20 minutes turned into 30, then 40, and eventually, studying became less of a struggle. Ravi's story shows us that our environment matters. If you're surrounded by distractions, it's hard to focus. Create a space where you can work without interruptions. Even small changes, like keeping your phone out of reach, can make a big difference. These stories have one thing in common. They all start with small, simple steps. You don't have to climb the entire mountain today. Just take the first step. Imagine this. A year from now, you look back at today. You see yourself taking that small step, reading 1 page, writing 1 sentence, studying for 20 minutes. That small step turned into progress, and that progress changed your life. your future self is waiting for you. They're stronger, wiser, and living the life you dream of. And they're telling you this: don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start small. Start now. You've got this. Let these stories remind you that you're not stuck. You're just one small step away from moving forward. What will your first step be?